Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's One Piece Treasure Cruise video, we are going to discuss about the Recollection archive units, which of them you should prioritize farming if you haven't already, which of them are good enough for you to go after, and which of them are there just for collection purposes at this point and they are not relevant. If you enjoy these tip and discussion videos for the game as much as I enjoy making them, definitely let me know in the comments what subject you want to see a video on next. Without further ado, let's get in game, let's put up the graph on the left, and there I will put 10 units that in my opinion you should have a high priority of farming so they can help you clear content. That doesn't mean these units are the best ones out of there, but personally I use them quite often. They are very good units, very helpful, and of course we are going to get into the details later on as well. The list is not in order of importance, just in the order they will appear in the section of the Recollection archive, and you should always have in mind when deciding what to farm first, what is available in your box, and of course what content you want to clear. Starting things off with a very interesting unit, Hannibal and Magellan. Magellan is the int side of the unit while Hannibal is the Q side of the unit. But the reason I won't add them to the high priority top 10 list is because of Kizuna, Luffy and Boa Hancock and also Raid Bullet. Two other free-to-play units that can do the job that Hannibal and Magellan do for the int and the Q side of things, but maybe even better with adding some extra utility. Luffy and Boa Hancock can give you guaranteed matching slots while locking them and give you a higher color affinity boost for int and psi units, while Raid Bullet can help the Q side of things and also give you an HP cut, if that is necessary, and also give you matching slots if you have block slots with his Buena Festa support. So this unit is very good, and it will depend on the situation which one of the three you will choose, but this one has two replacements, so I won't add it to the list. Very good unit though. If you do not have them and you have everything else on the list, definitely go after them. The other two dual units here, while decent, they are not high priority. Usopp and Chopper is a decent unit because they can of course unlock super type abilities and get attached with decent supports because they are Straw Hats. But at the same time, if you do not have delayed enemies, the boosts they give you are underwhelming. And then Sengoku and Garp also do not give very high boosts. But have in mind, Sengoku and Garp remove beneficial effects from your crew, something that could be useful in very specific situations, and not a lot of units do it. Then for Sanji and Capone here, not high priority, not actually good units, pretty outdated, both of them. I think Capone was never good, in my opinion, this raid version. And Sanji, I just have him maxed because he is Sanji, but then again, I have never used him outside of Treasure Map. The CP9 unit is good, and they also have a super evolution, but the strength version in my opinion is way better, because they can become captain in the middle of the quest if you activate them, and if that happens, they actually boost everyone on the team, while the Q unit only boosts two classes, Driven and Slasher, meaning that the strength unit gives you more freedom. This unit is a good utility unit because they can manipulate slots, remove resilience and also damage reduction, so if all of these debuffs are together, they are the perfect fit, and they are a decent unit to farm if you actually have a lot of the other high priority units. Stampede Lucci is kind of outdated, but at the same time, one of those units that on paper looks great, but then you do not use him that much. If you do not have a bullet captain or someone that can manipulate slots after Lucci does so, then he's not that good, in my opinion, because he randomizes slots into either strength, Q or int. That works great for bullet and great if you can make all of those slots matching somehow, but then he also has a condition in his special that needs a specific number of either strength units or a combination of Q/int units. So Lucci really needs you to build around him as well as your captain and the content itself. That's why I don't think he's that good now, and you would probably be better off with using someone else for color affinity or someone else for bind and damage reduction removal. He could still have his moments, I guess. Then we have Raid Ace, who is actually a way more straightforward unit and I believe better than Lucci. He can make block slots matching, also give you an ore boost, higher if you have less than 30% HP, which is tough to accomplish a lot of times, but other than that, he is a pretty decent unit, I would say. So definitely, if you miss a good booster for these specific classes, you can use Ace, and he has a pretty unique support. Not extremely useful though, since I have never used him as a support, I think. We move on to the Dex units as well. We're starting off with Cracker, who in my opinion is a good unit and very underrated. He is actually very old, and the testimony to that is of course the fact that he only has 3 available sockets, but at the same time he's special, removing chain lock and also pretty much giving you, in most situations, a full board of matching slots is awesome. And you're most likely going to use Cracker in a situation before the final stage, making his HP cut usable. I have used him multiple times in Kizuna and even used him in a Summer Girls team I made very recently. A big plus about this Cracker is that his raid is extremely easy to clear, so you can pair up his farming with also farming a specific ambush you want. Raid Judge is a very similar case to Cracker. Decent unit, easy raid for you to farm ambushes after, removes chain lock for 5 turns, but Judge also removes chain coefficient reduction, and then he gives you 2 times color affinity for your Dex units. He can also be attached with Kid Reiju support to remove a total of 8 turns of chain lock if the situation is right. Easily one of the best Dex color affinity boosters in the game, especially from the free-to-play side. The first addition to the list on the left will be Raid Crocodile. The chain boundaries thing for 3 turns is very strong, and actually I believe chain boundaries and also chain boost effects will become increasingly better in One Piece Treasure Cruise as we get more units. Crocodile doing it for 3 turns while also being able to manipulate specific slots, especially block, make him very valuable. Now have in mind, if you do not have good Cerebral or Striker captains, he won't be as much useful to you, so you might want to prioritize someone else. But still, Cerebral is a very good class, and Striker units now became better with Yamato appearing in the game, so Crocodile definitely a very strong unit. Bonnie will actually be the second unit I will add to the high priority list. Removing Threshold and defense up for 5 turns while also giving you a full board of matching slots, providing you do not have block slots, is very strong. And her special, combined with the fact that the Supernovas get more units and a lot of them can use Bonnie as a sub to unlock their super type special, makes her even better. Raid Sobomask might have potential for the future because of his chain boosting abilities in 2 different stages, but right now he's kind of lackluster, he's missing something to be way more usable, but if you are in a Kizuna situation, let's say, where you have a lot of damage and you are missing that something to help you, Sobomask might help, but other than that, I don't think he should be a very high priority. Another big reason actually that is holding Sobomask back is that he needs to work in Dex teams, and Dex teams are not the best right now. Then we have Raid Marco. He shouldn't be a high priority or a priority at all, in my opinion. He is extremely underwhelming. I tried using him so bad in Arena Asura Doji, but he was either never useful enough for me to get enough damage, or Arena Kamazo was a million times better to use instead of him. His healing is decent, but then again there are many healers in the game that can find uses because they can do more stuff than what Marco provides. So I wouldn't prioritize him at all. The next unit is Raid Zoro. Absolutely farm Zoro. He's on the list, he's one of the best units here. He is extremely useful because he can remove 5 turns of threshold and damage reduction while also giving a color affinity boost for Slasher and Driven, and even a higher one if you have full HP. He's a slasher, he can be attached as a support to slashers and give you color affinity for that class, and he is also a straw hat, being able to get many good supports, like for example Valentine Nami. To give you a perspective about Zoro, every time I team build, I always think if I have a slasher on the team and I can benefit from Zoro support. That's how relevant he is, even if you do not use him as a sub in the actual team. If you miss this unit, absolutely farm for it. Raid Big Mom is not good, you will only use her in speedrun buggy teams and nowhere else. Bartolomeo is very outdated unfortunately, but in a very specific situation where you need to remove resilience and get healing, he will be very good. He also reduces damage taken. Stampede Sabo on the other hand is a must farm. A very good Psy unit, he is Free Spirit as well, a very good class, and he can remove attack down, burn, which is not that important, and then give you a color affinity and also make type slots matching. Extremely good special, this is a good unit that can even help you in GARP challenges, so definitely farm Stampede Sabo if you miss him. Raid Brook is up next, and I believe he's a good unit, great unit on paper actually, because he has double special activation, he can totally remove 6 turns of threshold, 6 turns of special bind, and even give you a conditional attack boost, but he has some major flaws, and the main one is that he can only resist special bind by 3 turns and not 5 or 6. That means that if the enemy does not give you 3 turns of special bind, then Brook cannot help you with special bind. On top of that, he cannot give you a conditional attack boost if the enemy has delay immunity. So the only good part is the threshold, that is always going to work except if he is special binded, but if we only consider the threshold reduction, there is another unit that is Free Spirit, Slasher and Psy and can also remove 6 turns of threshold while at the same time giving us an attack boost and an ore boost. And it is a free-to-play unit, Treasure Map Mugiwara 56, Zoro. The next unit is a very interesting case, because this Luffy right here, on paper, is very good. He removes Special Bind and also resists it by 5 turns, removes Burn as a bonus, gives an attack boost, and then if you hit 3 perfects, doubles your slots. On top of that, he makes Psy slots matching for everyone. So this is a very good Luffy unit. He is Luffy, he can be attached with many good supports. But even though all of these things are true, I have never used him. Maybe it is because my box is more developed, maybe because I give other Luffy units priority like Luffy Sanji or another strong Luffy Captain unit, or maybe the situation was just not right, because I think I was about to use him in a team and then I decided I do not really need his boosts, I can get them from Roger or another captain, so I did not use him. But for newer players or players with less developed boxes than mine, I think he will be more useful, especially because he's a Luffy utility unit. Those units are always decent some way or another. If you miss him and have many units from the Recollection archive, he definitely can be worth farming. For the int units, I will be faster here because to be honest they're not amazing. I would say Vito de Flamingo is very unique, which is good, but at the same time there is no way you miss him in a team and he is not replaceable, or the whole team doesn't have an alternative option to beat the same piece of content. He is cool to showcase teams as a content creator, but I do not think he will be necessary for some piece of content in the future. Lucci and Blackbeard, same thing applies, they are both outdated. And then Carrot and Kaido are both very decent. I think Carrot is the best out of the int ones. She is very similar to Soba Mask in the way that when another Q or int character activates a special, she gets a boost in her special cooldown, it gets reduced by 3 turns, and then you can activate her to remove defense up by 3 turns and also get an attack boost. And if you activate her special twice in 1 turn, that attack boost for Q and int characters increases, just like Soba Mask, but not for everyone. The reason I'm not gonna put her as high priority is because I do not use her that often, but then again that might be on me, she's definitely a good unit. If she's not top 10, she's top 15. This Kaido is decent because he can give you a good attack boost and some orb manipulation, but unfortunately that doesn't go through block slots and there is no debuff utility. So he is an okay beat stick, but then again not a must farm. For the normal and low difficulty raids, we will go through them faster and straight to the point with every unit, so the video doesn't get way too long. I think Kobe and Helmeppo are decent, but the fact that they remove 4 turns of threshold doesn't do them any favors. They are better options out there. Still a decent unit. Shanks and Mihawk are outdated. If the enemy has immunity, they're not that useful, and they only remove 3 turns of debuffs. Shiki is trash. He's only good for support, but he's a very decent support, so farm it. Rayleigh, outdated. Arlong can be decent, but he removes debuffs for 3 turns. The good thing with him is that he removes block slots, makes them matching, and he also gives a 3-turn orb boost for slashers. With superclass slasher characters being introduced in the future, Arlong might see more play. Kuma is not that amazing because his orb boost is mediocre. The main way I see someone using him is for orb manipulation, that slight orb boost in the earlier stages, and also rare recruit bonus support to remove bind. Akainu is outdated, his color affinity boost is mediocre, and the same goes for his orb manipulation. This Jinbe is interesting. I don't think you're going to use him for his utility, even though he has something he can remove 3 turns of attack down, but that won't be enough. So probably you're gonna use him for his 2x color affinity for strength units, which is very good, maybe even his defense down, and then you will reduce attack down with him and completely remove it with another attack down unit that can give you more boosts. A great example can be strength rare recruit Marco. Dex Raid Doflamingo can be decent for new players because he gives you a 2x orb boost, but other than that he doesn't have a lot of things going for him. Sabo and the Big Emperor are both outdated bad units. Enel is not amazing, but he can double your Q character's attack, which can make him useful in mono Q teams, but then again I don't think he will be essential. Kizaru is not good. The local sea monster, not in the top 10 priority list because it doesn't remove 5 turns of defense up and threshold, but 4 turns with an orb boost can still be very useful. Like Carrot, might not be top 10, definitely top 15. Saiboa is very outdated and she gives a low chain lock. Frankie is interesting because he can remove attack up and rage, end of turn damage and auto heal from the enemy, but then again you almost never wanna do that, and his attack boost is trash. Fujitora doubles the slot effect only for powerhouse characters, but he also does give you adjacent matching slots, unfortunately not through block slots though, so he can be decent maybe in the future with superclass for powerhouse units, but not a high priority unit for sure. On Nami and Shinobu, I'm not a fan. I hate that they randomize your slots, even though their color affinity part of the special is pretty decent, and they can also remove some turns of bind and despair. Aokiji, Magellan and Caesar are all outdated and not any good at the moment. And finally for this section we have Raid Mr. Zero. Many players might be sleeping on this unit, but I will add it to the list since it is an amazing unit for mono int teams and generally if you have an int captain. For example, if you are using V2 Blackbeard, V3 Katakuri versus Big Mom, Halloween Law or Halloween Mihawk, who both get their super type from this guy, or even Moria or any other int captain you can think pretty much, Raid Mr. Zero is a beast as a sub. He removes despair and paralysis for 5 turns, makes block slots matching and also gives you a chain boost. On top of that, because as a sailor ability, if you hit a perfect with him, you can keep his matching slot if it is int. He also becomes very useful in the whole duration of a GURP challenge. I'm a big fan of this unit, I like using him. He's a great sub for your int captains. He can give more damage while also providing very solid utility. From the easy raids, I only want to highlight 3 units. Raid Chopper, only for his support because he gives 9% of his attack to the Straw Hats and he has a pretty high base attack. Raid Vergo because he can be a support for Doflamingo, Caesar and Monet. He's pretty unique because he can give them an ore boost when they activate their special, but like Chopper only useful for his support. And then Raid Bellamy. He has double special activation, he can give you an ore boost for 1.75 for every unit in the team, whatever the color or the class, and he also makes Psi and Int slots matching. From the easy raids, definitely the best unit here. Everyone else is either very outdated or just not good. Now let's go to the Chaos Coliseum units. First we have the Flamingo and Treble, a very good unit, and as driven characters become better, so will this unit. They have a pretty decent swap for slots, and they also get a guaranteed matching slot on themselves. And then they are one of the few units in the game that they can give you a chain lock in one stage, and if you hit for perfect, they can also give you one in the next stage. The second chain lock is 3.25, which is pretty high. Very decent Coliseum unit, unfortunately without any utility though. Then we have Kid, Zephyr, Foxy or Disguised Foxy and Ors. All of these four are useless. I have never seen them used, to be honest, so do not bother farming them other than for collection purposes. And then we have this Kinemon. I don't think this Kinemon is good either, but he has a double special activation limit break ability and he can reduce your special charge, and maybe if you have over 70% HP, give you adjacent matching slots. The special is not good, but because you can use it twice, it might be useful because this is a Kinemon unit and you can attach decent supports to him or use him to unlock a super type ability from future units, especially because we are in the land of Wayno now, so Kinemon might be needed for different units. The next unit is completely useless, but I am very intrigued to see the name. Thunderlord McGuy. I don't even need to say much more, don't farm him. Then we have this Nekomamushi who is very decent. Even though he's a very old unit, he can make block slots matching, give you an attack boost for Striker and Powerhouse, and because he is an Echo unit, he can get some very decent supports. I used him recently, he was a boosted unit though, but he can still find uses in some teams. He's not a high priority unit to farm, but he is still up there if you have a lot of other good ones. Then we have another unit for the list, Coliseum NL. This unit is a utility beast. He can give you a matching slot on him, reduce attack down, lock chain and paralysis by 5 turns, and if your captain is driven, which I mentioned, driven is becoming a better class, then you also get a chain boost. Definitely an extremely strong unit. Next up we see Coliseum Opera. He's not useful as far as special is concerned, but farm him whenever you can for his support. That support can be extremely useful. Coliseum Oven is actually very decent, but to be honest I haven't used him very often. If you have a lot of other units and you are in need of something to farm and you miss him, feel free to farm him, but he won't be a must-have in a lot of situations. Coliseum Morley, on the other hand, will be on the list. And the reason I have Morley here, even though his usage has dropped in my opinion lately, is because he's very unique. He reduces resilience and threshold, but the main thing about him is that he reduces defense, and if you have a free spirit captain, one of the best classes in the game, then he will give you a conditional attack boost for 3 turns. If you hit 2 perfect, he will reduce the defense of the next stage enemy to 0 as well, if of course the enemy does not have immunity. So he's very similar to Treasure Map Reiju if you are familiar with her. She is a more recent unit and maybe a bit better, but Morley, even though he's kind of not used anymore a lot, he's still a good unit and very unique, so I have to include him. The next 3 units are all very good Coliseum units. They are some of the last Coliseum units before Coliseum was renamed to Arena, and I might not classify them as very high priority to farm, but they are definitely right below these units. Inuarashi and Okiku gain more and more supports because of the Land of Wayno arc, and then all of them combined can have great utility while also giving you a boost. So, great combination of stuff. Inuarashi removes Despair, Threshold and gives an attack boost. Orochi removes Paralysis, Bind and also gives an attack boost. And then Okiku gives an ore boost but then removes Bind and damage reduction. All of them great options to have available in your box. For the Dex units now, the first row is not that good. Killer, Moria, Margaret, Ideo and Mahvise I have actually never used or even seen used, so I would not advise you to farm them. Lucy and Rayleigh can be decent and they can be used, but they are not extremely good units, they are very low priority. Kid is decent because he can give you end of turn damage, which can help with resilience, and he can also give you some special cooldown reduction, but unfortunately he does not resist it, so that is definitely a problem with this unit. He was way better back in the day, I would say, and that is for buggy teams, not for teams in general. Daifuku is not that good, I have never used him either, and then Pika is not amazing, but he's one of the few units in the game that can be swapped around with your captain to avoid that debuff, so he might be useful. Hody Jones is a very good utility unit, being able to reduce Bind, Despair and Special Bind by 5 turns, while also resisting Special Bind on himself for 5 turns, so that is great. Satenmaru is also good because he can deal with Special Bind as well, and then on top of that he can give you a boost in attack for Powerhouse and Slasher units. King is okay, and I think this unit is an amazing combination with 6+ V1 Usopp, but your team needs to be very strong and very flexible for you to have 2 available spots to use that combination. He's a decent unit, I don't think he's high priority though. For the Q units now, Alvida and Apu are not good. The Impel Down girl is not good. What's your name? Lord have mercy. Jesus. Okay, she's not good, but if you want to farm her, I mean, you can. Who am I to limit her potential? Margot, Kyros, Raizo, not good. Magellan is decent, kind of outdated because he doesn't remove a high turn of debuffs, but he can still be used, and he also gives conditional attack boost along with utility, so definitely a decent unit, and the same goes for Jinbe. Jinbe is the only unit in the game that can completely remove Threshold and also give you a chain boost if your captain is a fighter though. So in that very specific scenario, he's great. But other than that, I wouldn't say he is very high priority. Ors is good, but just like Gyokimaru that comes after him, they remove debuffs for 4 turns. That is not always a bad thing. Ors removes defense up and also Threshold, and then Gyokimaru removes bind and damage reduction. The best thing about Gyokimaru is that he gives you the buff for beneficial slots for 3 turns, which can counter the non-beneficial debuff that the enemy would give you in maybe a final stage. So if you activate him in the second to last stage to give you utility and also give you matching slots and counter a debuff, he's great. He is one of the few units that do it, so he is good to farm if you are out of other options. And now let's go to a speed round for the Sai and Indie units. For the Sai ones, a lot of them are very bad. The best one is definitely Komurasaki, who has a double special activation limit break ability and can reduce 2 turns of Threshold Bind attack down, give adjacent matching slots even through block slots, and give you healing. You can activate your special twice, so you can double all of that to max out at 4 turns, making a very decent special. Low is also decent because he is low, he can get decent supports, and the special is not horrible, but I have not used him in forever. For the int units, this Neptune is definitely on the list. He's an amazing unit. This Neptune can reduce attack down, despair, and resilience while also reducing enemies' defense, and then he can give Cerebral and Powerhouse units a boost in the slot department for 3 turns. This unit is a beast, and even his support is great. He can be attached to Shirahoshi and Fukaboshi and remove despair and resilience by 2 turns. One of the very few units that removes resilience as a support. Very good free-to-play unit. If you miss him, make sure you get him. Now for the rest of the units, Katakuri and Kyoshiro are not that good. Katakuri is very outdated and Kyoshiro can be decent in very specific situations. Maybe he will see more play if empty slots become more relevant. Smoothie is good, but she should be lower priority. You should have every other unit that is better than her pretty much that we have discussed before you farm her. And then Sangoro, Kizaru and Page 1 are all pretty similar. They are good and very usable, but I would say they are not at the top of the list, they are right below. Very much like Inuarashi, Orochi and Okiku we saw before. For the events section of the Recollection archive, all of the units are okay, but the ones that by far are the best in my opinion are Lo, Zorojuro and Rebecca. And this Rebecca will actually also be on the list for high priority because she is very unique and what she does can be combined with some very strong side captains like Roger and V3 Hancock among others. The only unit that does a similar thing to this Rebecca is Treasure Map Limited Rare Recruit Vivi, who is way harder to acquire. Rebecca can give you a color affinity boost for Psi and Strength units in 2 different stages if you hit your perfects. She can remove blindness with her Sailor ability, and she can also extend your attack boost by 2 turns, and that is why she works great with both Roger and V3 Boa. She's very unique, and that is why I have her at high priority. She is very hard to replace if you need her in a quest. Then Lo is low and can get decent supports, but he can also give you a chain boost, allow your captains to gain access to their super type special, and also remove 2 turns of defensive effects. Then Zorojuro, along with his Sailor and special, can remove 5 turns of paralysis and then reduce defense and also remove 4 turns of resilience. He is one of the very few Zorojuro units, or Zoro units rather, that are powerhouse, so he is very decent to have in your box. Finally, for the arena units of the archive, I have to say that most of them are great to have, so you should farm most of them, but I will only place one of them as high priority, and that is Arena Kamazo. I also want to mention Drake though, because he might be a hidden gem for many teams. He is a pretty flexible unit. We saw before that I had a problem with Lucci doing different stuff depending on what typings you have on your crew. Drake is kind of like this as well, but he does it way better. First of all, he does not randomly change your slots, he reduces damage nullification by 2, threshold by 4, and gives you a color affinity boost by 175 for everyone guaranteed. Now, on top of that, if you have 3 or more Psi, he reduces bind by 4 and gives you a chain boost. On the other hand, if 3 or more Dex, Q or Int characters are on the crew, he changes all the slots to matching while giving you a 3 times chain lock. I believe Drake is a pretty underrated unit because he also has a very good support, giving color affinity to everyone if you have him attached on a strength powerhouse unit, so definitely a unit worth farming. Kamazo is also very nice because as a sub, if the preemptive of the enemy gives you block slots or any slot that is not a type 1, he will boost your orbs by 2.25 for 2 turns. That is a rainbow war boost for everyone. And even if you have type slots, he will do it by 2 times. And then he will also remove 4 turns of damage reduction and burn. He also damages the enemy, which allows him to be attached with support limited rare recruit anniversary Dex Shirahoshi that will give a color affinity to Dex units. I believe he's a very good unit, and we saw how powerful he was during Arena Asura Doji. The rest of the Arena units should probably all be medium priority, except Young Shinobu, I would say. She is the one I like the least. She doesn't have a very good support either. Her special is kind of weird, so I would not prioritize her over the other units. Arena Frankie is also worth mentioning specifically because he has an amazing support for Zoro, Robin and Usopp, the only unit that is free to play in the game and removes 2 turns of attack down as a support. His special is also very good and has a pretty unique element to it, and actually I can say that Frankie can even be over Gamazo in the high priority list simply because he is more unique and tougher to replace. Both are great units though, and in my opinion you should farm both of them. But that's everything I had to say about the Recollection archive and the available units in it. I hope you enjoyed the video enough and found it helpful. To leave a like, I would really appreciate it, and also subscribe to the channel for more to come in the future. Thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.